their jacket to learn Torah, and the litvat sake off their jacket to learn.
Okay.
Strange and scuffle.
That should be all that divides us. Bezos Hashem. Okay, 20 minutes after 1 minute?
Approximately.
Approximately.
I mean, let's say the outer limit.
AM or PM?
The outer limits.
AM or PM?
125, let's say. 125. Someone says Asher at 125, we're still okay.
Is it? Okay. Is there anyone here who has not heard my presentation up to before? If so, I will give a brief. You have not heard. You speak English, I hope, because
There are a couple of people here.
Did I hear you years ago on the JM and the AM?
you sure did.
Okay.
Wow, that was such a beautiful show. I come up to here. I come up to here. I'm him.
Is it still on?
Yes.
I don't know. Nachum Siegel is about 100 feet tall.
I think it's the first time he didn't give because of the hurricane already.
Really. In any case, Rabbi Fairman, thank you. It is a schus as always to be here. Really, I just love being here, and I have such wonderful friends from many moons ago who are also here. So I'm going to spend a very brief time just bringing these gentlemen, giving my excuse for why I'm standing here. There's very little excuse, but I had the privilege of having written 3 books. I want to talk about subject matter mainly concerned with the second and third ones today, but I'm just going to give you a brief sketch of the first book is called From Central Park to Sinai, How I Found My Jewish Soul, which is, by the way, currently being translated into Spanish. And my story is that I grew up in the United States of America, in the city of New York, like a guy for basically 31 years. I ran as fast as I could to try to run away from Yiddishkeit, like everybody else who was that I knew. And when I say like a guy, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, every Jewish boy has a bris, a bar mitzvah. I had no bris, I had no bar mitzvah. My favorite day of the year was December 25th, and we had no Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, anything Jewish. And I found out I couldn't live like that. I could not live like that. It was Gehenna, even though I didn't want to be Jewish, but it was Gehenna. So I tried every lifestyle I could think of. As I say frequently, the only thing that I didn't, thank God, that I kept away from was drugs. I mean, I had a feeling that's, you're really taking your life in your hands. But I don't think there's anything else, basically, that I did not do to try to live, but I didn't want to be Jewish. And everyone has a pin to lay in, which means has a flip side also, meaning you're aware that there's a Hashem somewhere inside you, so you're also aware that if you admit that Hashem is real, so then all of a sudden you don't run your life and He runs your life. And that's and America is a culture. What is it called? The home of the brave and the land of the free, but something like that. And we are taught to believe we can do whatever we want. So we don't want someone else telling us what I can eat. What you mean, I can't go to the Mets game on Saturday. What I can do, what I can't do. But then after a while, when you've tried everything and there's nothing left, and either your life is going to fall apart or you have no choice. And then, Baruch Hashem, we're so fortunate at that very moment. I met a young lady in high school. We were married for 11 years, living a non-Jewish existence without Hashem in it. And thank God, at exactly the moment when we ran out of other options, we met Rebbetzin Esther Youngreis in Neuberger, New York, in spring of 1974, and the whole world of Torah opened up to us. We came to Israel for the first time a few months later, something we never thought we would do, because why should we go to that place, where the Jews, they stole it from the Arabs, and why should we go there, and what does it have to do with us? And then, first time in my life, at the age of 31, I saw Talis and Tefillin. It was on El Al at 4 in the morning. All these guys got up and they put these boxes on their heads, and oh boy. That's when it all began. And we spent 2 weeks here, Shabbos, Kashrus, living a Jewish life. After 11 years of marriage, Rebbetzin Youngreis took my wife to the mikveh in Yerushalayim, and we got back to America, and we met Phil Peltz, and everything began. Baruch Hashem. Unbelievable. That's the preamble. That's the subject of my first book. I would like to talk about events having to do with this book. This is my third book. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to take the time. We don't have so much time. But I would like to talk about an incredible phenomenon that's going on in today's world. That is that our Chazal and the Nevi'im told us the last Golus of Am Yisrael, the Jewish people, the last part of our exile would be, it's called Golus Yishmael. We just met Yishmael in the Torah a few weeks ago. Lech Lecha, last week. And it's an unbelievable thing. Because first of all, we see it's coming to pass. The words of the Navi and the words of Chazal are coming to pass in our own time. It's an unbelievable, amazing thing. Because logically, just like everything else in Jewish history, this is Jewish history, it seems impossible. Because if you think about it, here is a nation of nomads that a few decades ago were basically, riding camels around the desert. And today, there's hardly a city, there's no great city in the world that does not have a huge Muslim presence. And I just read the other day that the city of Dearborn, Michigan is between 50 and 60% Muslim. That's Dearborn, Michigan. You go to an airport in Europe, it's staggering. Years ago, in Manchester, England, I remember going to the airport, and certainly more than half of the people in the airport were Arabs. A few weeks ago, we have a daughter who lives, we have, Baruch Hashem, 2 children here in Israel. We have a daughter who's living in Beit El, and we were there, Shoshana, Yom Kippur, we were already have a chazaka, it's our 4th year, davening at the yeshiva in Beit El, beautiful davening. And it was the first day of Sukkot, and I was coming back to shul after Musaf, I'm going down the hill, and Beit El is in a very beautiful area. If you look west from Beit El, you see Ramallah. And every time you come to Beit El, Ramallah is closer. And in fact, I have a column in the American Antenna. I ran a picture, I took a picture from Beit El of Ramallah. You see, it's really coming closer, it's growing and growing and growing. So what happened? Why is it that B'nai Yishmael, I thought to myself, what is the reason for this? And obviously it's not an academic question to us, because they don't like it. They don't like us too much, and they don't like us too much. So you want to know why is this happening? And I began to think. I didn't begin, but it just struck me then. It gave me a real push to think about why it is that this should be the phenomenon. Because we know nothing that happens is accidental. We had a monster storm, I don't have to tell anybody, in the northeastern United States, really 1/3 of the United States. You know there were 25-foot waves in the Great Lakes from this storm? It's unbelievable. My son-in-law sent me a picture, I saw it just before I left today. I think I mentioned before. Cedarhurst, New York, you know, the 5 towns where we live, is a huge Jewish community, of a sidewalk in Cedarhurst with ocean big fish dead on the sidewalk. This is a mile inland from the ocean. Big fish on the sidewalk. The question is, why? And I realized it has to be. And it's unbelievable thought. Why is it that Yishmael is so powerful in the end Achros HaYomim? Everybody, a few years ago I heard someone reported that the Chaim Kanievsky Shlita said, if you don't see the simanim, the signs of the Geula Shalema in what's going on in the world today, it's not a chesaron in Emunah. You're not lacking in, faith in Hashem. You're just stupid. Tell it like it is, right? Unbelievable. I didn't hear it from Chaim's own mouth, but this was reported. So why it's no accident, that's for sure. So in the few minutes we have, we should be able to do it, Be'ezus Hashem. I would like to discuss this incredibly important question of why it is that Yishmael not just is dominant in the world just before Mashiakh. So the point I was trying to make just now is I think everybody, our Gedolim, great rabbis, I think, are all in agreement that we really are very close to the Geula Shalem. We're very close to the Geula Shalem. And why should Yishmael be so powerful now? We just started Sefer Bereshis. We saw Hashem created this perfect world. 6 days, Hashem created a perfect world. It started with Tov V'Vov. It started with chaos, and each day of the 6 days, Hashem made boundaries and separated between elements of this chaos, and from the chaos, He made a perfect world. And what do we do? Mankind was given free will, Adam and Chava, and basically our first action was to start destroying the world that Hashem made, the perfect world. First real action that occurred in the world with the free will that Hashem gave us is we rebelled against Him. And I have it says in Tillim that compares 1,000 years to a day. I have a whole theory that in Worldstorm, in my second book, that in each 1,000 years of history since then, and we're almost at the end of the 6th millennium, Erev Shabbos, and mankind has really unraveled one day of Sheshes and Mevorachos, the 6 days of creation. And we pushed it back almost toward Tohu Vavohu, toward chaos. You look at the world, you see that the boundaries really are becoming, we say every morning, the boundaries of the sea and the land became blurred the last few days. And mankind, since the Industrial Revolution, I mean, you see, for example, Darwin took Hashem. I always say, if Darwin didn't exist, someone would have invented it. Had to invent it because it took Hashem out of the Bria. There was no Hashem; it just happened by itself. And people may be angry at me, but I think I saw a book on Einstein's theory of relativity. Einstein took Hashem out of physics. So mine is true. See the theory of relativity, and you see there's no center to the world. Well, Chazal tells us there's a center. It's a few miles from here, called the Harabayas. Heaven Shasiya. The world is created from there. The universe was created from there. According to Einstein, there's no absolute. And there's a brilliant book called Modern Times, not by a Jew, very interesting book, which says that that it's not that Einstein's theory of relativity leaked into morals, into everything, into all of life. All of life became relative. So mankind has unraveled, trying to unravel Hashem's Bria, creation. And we just, Parshas Lech Lecha last week told us, Hashem created a nation, the person was born, Avram Avinu, whose avoda in life was to represent Hashem in this world and go against the actions of mankind, the rebellion of the rest of mankind. Avram Avinu stood alone in the world. And Avram Avinu